Hey folks, MisterJustin here with another Workbench Wednesday. And before I get started, first I want to thank you for tuning in again. This is 21, and it's nice to be back at the desk after Adepticon, I can tell you that. Of course, if this is your first time joining me, please make sure you like, subscribe, click bells, ring whistles, whatever you're supposed to do. Or ring bells? You get it. So that you make sure that you get all of the future broadcasts and everything. Hey Alex, many thanks. Yeah, I'm glad I made it back safe from Adepticon as well. So far crud free. Been very good about keeping sanitizer with me. Seems to have made the difference. But all right, today's broadcast. Wow. I actually get to start work on a model today that I have wanted to paint since it was released many years ago. Very, very excited about this project for a couple of reasons. First off, like I said, I get to paint an incredible model. So let's get to the split view here and show you what I'm talking about with some lights on. Here we go. This is the Stampa belly gun. Now this goes into the Orc Stampa from Games Workshop. You'll see that I've tagged Games Workshop Lake Crest Village. With thanks to Joe Mears out there, the manager, really incredible guy, does a great job for our community out here. Runs a great store. If corporate's listening, that guy is amazing. Make sure you take good care of him. But yeah, I'm going to get to go into the store and do some work in there on this. And that'll be exciting. I want to get a chance to show off some techniques. And then once it's finished, Joe is kind enough to let us put that on display while it's up for, before it goes to Nova Open. Because it will be donated to the Nova Open Charitable Foundation. If you don't know about them, wow, you really should. Well, by now, certainly, if you've been watching Secret Weapon long enough, you've certainly heard of the Nova Open Charitable Foundation. We have supported their Army auctions now for many years, and I've been glad to be a part of each of those projects. This year, I'm doing a single model for raffle all by its onesie, so I won't be doing one of the Army. Secret Weapon will be providing bases and materials, of course, but in this case, I will be working simply on the Stampa and its belly gun. So once it's finished, before it goes to Nova, we'll stick it in Games Workshop Lake Crest Village so that folks get a chance to see it in person. Yeah, hopefully buy lots of raffle tickets, support a great charitable foundation. And yeah, anyway, I'm just giddy, you can tell. I have my instructions here. I'll show you guys these. Forgewell did a good job breaking it into its respective components to really add some depth to that gun so that it really looks like it's set back into the belly. That's just the component list. Now, of course, as I sit here preparing a resin model, particularly one from Forgewell, I'm going to get into some things that I swore I would never, ever, ever, ever do. Nothing about Forgewell, but I'm going to say some things about preparing resin that I often swore I would never say in public. Largely because people with less experience in chemistry or resin like to argue about those things. And as the saying goes, never fence with an amateur. They'll kill you every time. All right. So let's see. Hunky chunky crappy clippers. Trash can a bit from under my desk. That's that one. This one's at an angle. I'm leaving a little space. You'll notice I'm not cutting on the edge. You don't want to do that. You'll also find that Forgewell's gates will generally snap off with just a little bit of work. You don't actually have to cut the whole big hunka chunka. So I've left my little nubs. This is great. Oh, Miniature Mayhem, thank you very much. Yeah, having that painted display at Adepticon is really great. I still really enjoy seeing it myself, since I don't get to see our product very often in person. I work from the home studio all the time now, so yeah, even I get really excited about that. Did you have a favorite of the finished pieces? Yeah, see, I'm just able to snap most of these Forgewell gates off and do it carefully, of course. If you're going to try this, especially when you see that it's attached to the back of a piece like this, they're generally pretty good about just pop it off, but you want to be gentle because obviously you don't want to damage the model. And there's some obviously where I would never try that. Ah, yes, the famous toothpick gate. Or toothpick vent, excuse me. You know the difference between a gate and a vent, Justin. Alright, those are stiffer. I want to cut that. That one's fine though. That's just a gate. No, that right there is pulling, so I'm going to cut that. This guy is good. We'll leave that for the moment. Hatchway. Alright, and this beastly little piece. Get a good look at this. So I can see where there's the flash, so I'm going to see how I'm bending that flash out of the way here. Oh, let's get this off of Escape. Let's get that off of auto for you. Configure video. Leave this open. Do that. Turn autofocus on. Right. Boom. So now, hopefully, you can see that I'm, just able to just with my finger get this piece of flash out of the way here, and that's great. That's very much what I want to see. Generally speaking, a big piece of flash like that, you want to be able to clean it off with your thumbnail, and that's when you know that they've done what they needed to do. Extra flash here on the sides of this from the vent back here, and now I'm going to try to cut the outside vents, get them out of the way. Then I can get into this one. Again, down below, anything important, so I'm going to have to come back and retrim all of these. See? So that's fine. Trim. Using my flats, snippers to get in there. Did it twice on this part. It's fine. Carefully, slowly, right there. And just like that, all tidied up. Now there's still some finger flash here and such, and I'm going to check for the mold seams, and I'll show you guys how I do that in a minute. It's always fun too. Oh yeah, some slippage here. Yeah, we've got cleanup to do. Nothing egregious. All right. So now I take the pile from one end of my desk and I start moving it back to the other. Oh, Runic Mountain, Silent Halls, and Shattered Rituals in no particular order. Yeah. Yeah, those Silent Halls samples were painted by Sean Fulton at Figure Painter Magazine, and I understand there's an article coming out on how he did it, which will make me giddy because, man, that glow effect that he does for that is just incredible. All right. Even these clippers aren't going to get these today, so... Ooh. these are some slippery pieces, so I'm gonna have to clean them. Now, and that's where we start talking about the things that I swore I'd never say in public, because cleaning resin means never, ever, ever soaking it. Do not soak your resin. Soaking resin is a mistake. Hey, some of the things I've been looking for. But not a cutting mat. It is made off with all of the cutting mats. Unless I have one in my project bin right there, and I don't. That's fine. Yeah, when you resin, I'll go back to soaking resin here. Resin is a very moisture sensitive, at least most of the polyurethane resins that we're talking about in the hobby world are moisture sensitive, and it makes it brittle. They're also porous. Which means that when you're soaking it, it will absorb moisture, making the model not just more brittle when it dries, but it's going to take a phenomenally long time to dry because it's effectively just been turned into a sponge. And one of the reasons you'll get paint sliding off of a surface, one of the reasons, is that it's actually still bleeding moisture. All right, this is clean. I should finish cleaning this one. I'm not too worried about having a seam there because, or keep metal, I'm actually going to add probably a little more roughness to a few of these pieces. The sculptor already did a great job, of course. There's some good detail here for the rough edges that I like and all of that. But yeah, the other reason, another reason that paint won't stick is, of course, when you have a slimy mold. There's a lot of mold release on this one. But you do not need to soak that off. No. All you need to do is hit it with isopropyl. Just give it a wipe down with some isopropyl. It'll all come right off. And that's what I'll do today. But the last reason that a model can have paint not in here, particularly a resin model, is when you're working with the silicone molds. Those of you especially that have done it or talked to friends in the industry, a silicone mold generally has a limited mold life, in part because it also absorbs moisture, but because little micro layers of mold get pulled out each time, just little tiny bits of damage. But over time, that tiny bit of damage can, on a big flat plate, make it gloss smooth. Particularly if it started strictly smooth to begin with, like if this was just smooth plastic card. Maybe a light coat of primer over it or something to, you know, check for things before it went into to make the master. Well, then that's going to go to make the production copies, which in turn, it gets smoother and smoother. So you can actually wind up with a glass surface or a glass-like surface on some of these. And what you do in that case is after you clean it off, because in this case it's going to be shiny because it's covered in the mold release. But take your model and really hit those flat surfaces. It doesn't even have to be this flat. I had the problem on the Forge World jet bikes where they have that nice buttressed arch in the front, or that nice arch in the front. And yeah, the sides of that were totally gloss smooth. So some paint came off and I just had to come in with a little bit of sandpaper. Good to go. Those are the three main reasons you're going to lose paint. Everything else is kind of a surprise. It's almost always one of those three things. And they're all very easy to solve. Especially if you don't soak your resin. Get into my trash can. All right. Boop. Boop. Never felt a mold so slimy. All right. Yeah, this is one very wet model. I do want to get rid of that, right? Oh, I don't need to get rid of that. All right. Oh, and a little bit of adjustment. Good, good, good. Dry fitting. Up, 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 up. That one too. That is a bubble in the mold. Now it's gone. And hey, it's Just Rich. Welcome. Good to see you here again. Always a pleasure. Checking for other bubbles on the barrel. Now, one of the things I'm going to do as I get to work on this piece is actually add rifling on the inside of the barrel. I will do that. Well, we'll see which material I wind up using, either with plastic hard or brass. And yeah. All right, so that one's good to go. What do we get here? What do we get? What do we get? Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Clean up my nubbins. You gots to have the clean nubbins. Always clean your nubbins. Yeah, the actual Stompa body kit is at Games Workshop, Lake Crest Village, waiting for me right now. Of course, they don't open until long after the broadcast is finished. But I really need to make it over there this week to pick the darn thing up. It's been there for, well, what, probably 2 weeks now. But I could not pick it up on account of Adepticon. Even reached out to the manager on Facebook yesterday and asked Joe if there was any chance I could get it before 10 a.m. today. I knew the answer would be no, but I had to ask anyway. Just in case. And get you guys a little extra something. A project I've been trying to find time to get back to is I had just barely started putting together a materials for a Lake Crest Village diorama. So I actually got some epic scale product from my friend Marcus. Plan to go in and do dimensions in the front of the shop and actually build one of the gaming tables and a little display area and the whole bit. And hey, Noel, good to see you here too. Now I'm just being fascinated, wondering which putty the artist chose to use for this place. One of the things that's funny, and about me, and well, at least I think it's funny. I've never seen another sculptor that'll do this. When you're doing hardline stuff like this, and you've got your, plastic hard and whatnot on the front and your shapes, when you're filling in that backside, I tend to use wood putty. You can get your fingers wet. It smooths out real easy like this. It's sandable, stateable, carvable. Yeah. So then I see these, putty areas back here. I'm always like, what are you using? Now next week, in addition to being able to paint, which I hope to do today, but I think it's unlikely. It's actually raining pretty well here, which even for me means it gets a little tricky to prime. Now, Secret Weapon used to live in my garage, so we actually have an industrial venting system in there and the whole bit, so I can still spray in the garage, but I prefer to do it with the door open so that my house doesn't smell like primer. Cleaning up some mold lines in the back here. Don't know that we'll ever see that. Since I assume it's oriented this way. No, it can't be. The hooks. Interesting. In which case we might see that, so. I'm not sure about those, if they're a mistake or not, so I'm going to leave it. Same with that, I'm not sure. It looks to me like it's just an extra bit of support and venting, but I'm going to leave it until we start the dry fitting. Easier to leave a place in peace than have to resculpt it later. Otherwise, you look good. Yeah, I can actually very clearly see a difference between these two panels in terms of how smooth they are. This one, once it's cleaned off, will have cleaned off with the isopropyl. Would have no trouble holding paint, but I suspect this one would, so I'm going to hit this one with some sandpaper before we're done. I mostly do that with all of their large flat surfaces anyway, but yeah, these are definitely flash. Definitely maybe. So I'm still gonna leave it. It's not clear in the photo. All right. So, what's next? Anyone remember what's next? No, really, I forgot. Rip. Get paper towels. Rip. So this is my 99% isopropyl. for some of these trickier panels. Hello. Ah, maybe because I'm in the wrong drawer. I'll actually come in real quick with a Q-tip. Cotton swab. As you please. I'm also going to hit the back because I want paint to stick there too. All right. Sides. All good. Wipe it dry. And yeah, total difference. All of that is nice and clean now. No slimy residue whatsoever. Next, what do we get? Ooh, the big belly panel. I'm gonna find, I have a classic collection of the little grots with their tools and everything. I'm gonna find all of those. I'm gonna scratch some details. I'm going all in on this one. This really is a kit I've wanted to build for years, but I couldn't really justify it between the expense and then I wouldn't want to get rid of it, so where do I put it? But now it goes to charity, so hey. Oh no, Charles, did you miss the beginning? Well, the good news is what you've missed is me talking about how to prepare resin. And yeah, you can go back for that. The rest is just me, well, doing it today. So I'm going to do my cleaning and dry fitting on this piece. But I do think that's going to have to be the end of today's broadcast. We'll see how it goes. I've got other projects I can work on, of course. But just got a message letting me know that there's a problem at the warehouse that needs to be addressed. Apparently are. Some question about our shipping software that needs to be resolved in a hurry, of course. And apparently, even though I had waffles for breakfast, 10:30 is lunch. Says my stomach. Now I am absolutely just going to go ahead and get rid of this because I know that cannot be detailed because it is not pretty enough to be detailed compared to everything else the sculptor was kind enough to give us. You are a nubbin. Farewell, nubbin. Safe journey. All right, what's next? I'm actually so worried about forgetting to turn my alarm back on for this after cons that I leave it on during the cons. So it'll still go off on Wednesdays. I was on the flight to Chicago and it's ding, ding, ding. I must say, so far at a glance, they've with the molding, they've done a great job of putting all the gates and vents and seams in good places, good choices. I mean, there's a little bit on the barrel, but you really can't help that much. But I mean, it's a little bit. No big slippage. Just the one side too, so they're splitting. Okay. get in the barrel. There we go. Clean off that seam here. Reminds me of a dentist appointment this week. Tomorrow, in fact. Just to make my recovery from Adepticon all the more complicated. Great show, though. Always happy to go out there. These folks do an amazing job. The community is fantastic. And hey, yeah, Miniature Mayhem. I'm very glad that I could share that tip about stripping paint with isopropyl. Really is the best option. I know I've seen a lot of other suggestions, some of them really horrible on what to use. But yeah, just some isopropyl. I mean, you can get 91% isopropyl at the grocery store or chemist. No problem. The 99% stuff is easy enough to get too. I buy it by the case. Almost done. Oh, you had a question, Charles Dodge had a question about the mech paint. I'm changing the color on an SD and the paint is going on super transparent. Am I doing something wrong? What I would say is you might be over thinning it. It does not take a lot of water to thin the mech line. Yeah, at that point though, because you're airbrushing, there's a lot of questions I could ask because the answer to airbrushing is never yes or no. I wish that it were. But yeah, I'm happy to help you puzzle that out, man. But the most obvious answer would be over thinning. If the paint's coming out super translucent, it sounds like it got over thinned. Oh no! Well, that happened. Always a risk with the resin. Alright, so I've got these two pieces now. I'll deal with that when I put them all together. I am super not worried about it. Plus, I know I've had pieces like this in the past where something like that is broken and I simply didn't want to deal with it, and I've been able to contact Forge World and they generally kick you out a new piece right away. Always been impressed with their customer service. So they have a great team over there. All right. Last but not least, boom. Toss that in the faraway trash can. Right, I took my travel size lotion to Adepticon, so I can't lotion my hands just yet. I do recommend, if you're going to be working with ISO, keep some lotion on your desk. If you're not going to glove up for it every time, you definitely want to be able to take care of your hands. Alrighty, let's see. So let's get back to these pieces. I had some concerns about this one holding paint. I still do. So let's see where you go. So this is the gun box. Gun box. Yeah, might as well bring the instructions down for everybody else too. Top left, everybody. That's where we're at. And it looks like this widget. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. Mm. Oh, so you go on top. All right. Gun plate rear. Nope. Yep. Nope. Yep. Nope. That would be this one. And that can't be right because of the rivets. Oh. Oh, Charles, so you're brushing it on and it's coming out translucent. In that case, did you remember to put a matte coat down on the model before you started trying to put paint over it? Because if you're simply trying to put paint over the gloss surface of the raw Gundam model, that paint's not going to want to stick so much. So I'm definitely figuring the answer is that, because of the rivets. So that's got to be right. All right, so we're going to get one of these. We're going to get one of these. Those attached to this fuzzy widget. So you go here. That's funky. Here. Must go on the inside of that track. So you would go like that. Ah, yes, indeedly. Check it out. All right. So yes, you remembered to hit it with varnish. Hermina. I got nothing. It shouldn't be translucent. After the show, or even now, drop me an email. See if you can get me some photos about what's going on, and I'll puzzle it out. All right, so that is going to do these things and this thing. Like so. And that thing goes on top of it. Like so. Oh, dry fit. Will you hold together? There we go. All right. So it needs to hold paint. There and there. All right. So both sides. And yeah, Alex, since you've commented on it, yeah, you're going to want, if you take the your Gundam kit and you don't want to actually prime the whole kit, what you can do is just hit the components with a matte varnish, even on the frame. You'll want to, watch out for those cut spots later, but it works. Yeah, that way the model has teeth, because otherwise, particularly with the Gundam models, you're often talking about not just polystyrene, but polyethylene. Yeah, you've got to make sure that there's something for the paint to stick to. All right. Oh, one of these things is not like the other. Of course, it's the one on top. Should always be the one on top. 400 grit sandpaper. And I'm just going to give this flat panel just a very light sanding. In fact, I'll do it on the other one so you can see the difference. I'm going to bring these lights in nice and tight. Get rid of this so you get the shine here. All right, so on this side, get the shine. Shiny. See how even here we get that shine on it? And that is still very smooth. Now I'm not sure that that piece, this side, is going to be painted. And the Vallejo Surface Primer is okay too. I mean, any primer should be fine as long as it's got teeth. I'm not sure about the Vallejo Surface Primer because I don't use their product. Much less shine. We got a couple little spots. But that should really help it hold on to paint. Let me hit the sides here too. Those big flat surfaces can be a real problem. All right, so that's taken care of. I'm gonna get these two a little bit. Still gonna get these. That. This. That one little curved spot is really smooth, so I'm going to hit that too. And you can't really see it, except you'll notice that the shiny spots on panels, well, it's not mold release anymore. And that's what I was saying, once you get the mold release off, it's a good idea to come back over, especially flat panels, and see where you're still getting a lot of shine, because you may still have a hard time getting paint to stick to it, just because it's so smooth. Where are you, shiny? You're so shiny. Welcome to Sanding Models with Mr. Justin. Today, the sweet dulcet sounds of 3M 400 grit wet dry sandpaper. Note the distinctive purple hue. even on the inside of the gun carriage here. Gun mount. Get that. And this is where it's going to get a little tricky. Did my sanding tools make it back from the garage yet? No, we're so close. Come on then. Too big still. And then we do more dry fitting and maybe some gluings. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. And some of these pieces I am definitely not going to glue into place yet. Like the gun, of course, is going to get the most attention. So I'm definitely not going to glue it into place yet. So fresh. All right, hold on to that. Let's get back to the delicate pieces out of the way here. Hunky chunky pieces, these pieces, those pieces, this pieces. All right, so this is back to this dry fit. I definitely want to see that we have this sorted out. And you would go here. Kerchow. That reminds me, I need to find my sheet of Rusty's medicated bumper lotion bumper stickers that I print out. And make sure this guy gets one of those when it's finished. I'll tell you what. Alright, and then in that case, you're supposed to go in here like so. Oh, there we go. Starting to cook. Right? Yep, there we go. And of course, this thing goes on top of both of those. But you're not going to stay because that's how gravity works. Alright, and from there, well, that's really it. The rest is the housing. So I guess as I build this up, this guy will wind up here. Yep. Something like that. And on the other side, or does this one goes here? No, that one goes on the side. So we get the little pieces. This piece goes here. All the way up. So like so, even. Wow. All right. So yeah, some of this is going to want to get assembled when I have the body to start attaching it to, because as we look at the finished piece, I don't want it sitting up on that little bit of resin. But I'm going to go ahead and glue the basic gun housing together. checking those channels to make sure it looks like they want to hold glue. And when something needs to be square like this, I actually try to do it all at the same time. Puts this on try. You stay like that. Hold it up. You go on that side. You go on this side. You're not the piece I'm looking for. You are. Carefully hidden. Alright, and then I need to glue through these channels. Another thing that's unique, generally unique about my workspace is that the only cyanoacrylite you'll find are the little tiny tubes. I've got cases and cases of these things because I prefer to work with them. I've always just been accustomed to the amount of glue I can get out in terms of the pressure on the end. They never get nasty and dried out on me. I've never had to worry about whether or not one of them will open. Doesn't take up a lot of room in my desk. And let's get you squared away. Pun totally intended. And toss you on there to be sure. Even though you're dry fit. Boop, boop. Boom. Leave that to dry. Remember that this goes with this, and that means, so this is the top of this. You're going to wind up going there, so I can stick a little guy out. Good, 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 good. It actually goes on top of that. Okay. Okay. So it looks like when this is all ready to go, this piece actually sits directly on top of here, which makes sense. So we get, let's see if I can get that to stay. Well, I might as well glue it. It's sticking to me already. That's not true. I'm gonna wanna, I say I'm gonna want to get detail in there, but let's see if that's even possible. Can and should I glue ahead and glue this? Because how much room do I actually get for detail inside of my gun cavity? Enough. Alright, so I'm going to wind up painting the top of this because of course I am. So I'll leave that off for now. But yeah, this piece will sit right on top of that. Boom, like so. Gets the teeth hanging over right into the gun area. And these guys, I am still trying to sort how these guys attach to this because it looks like they are supposed to. Oh. I see. All right, so this part actually goes here. So that'll make repairing this much easier than I'd expected. Just wedge it. But I'll paint these pieces separately so that I can get into those panels easily, or the little hatchways. But it does still leave me perplexed about how they want this to attach. Yeah. Except that it should hang down. So that must be what that little shelf is for, and that little shelf goes, aha, like so. Noted. And noted. Let me get the gun in there because really, I mean, come on. So Forge World releases this model several years ago. And are you at all surprised that I absolutely had to positively paint it at some point? It is just beautiful. And I'm going to detail this bad thing up and make it crazy. But all right, so my dry fitting is done. I'm not going to glue anything else at this point until I have a body. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, that must be it then, because we'll see. And the answer is no. I can do a couple of things. I will pause the show in a minute to take care of some priming. But for the moment, we have a job to do. I need one of these, and I need a... Oh, my micron pens are hard to reach. They're way over there. So hard. So difficult. All right. That's going to be too long, so I'm going to cut you already shorter. Make a little roll up. Stick it in a gun. This is not why I originally grabbed my micron pen, but hey, whatever tool works. All right. So much too tall, which is going to make this difficult to measure, so. Come on, open up. Don't be shy. Tell us about yourself. And how long have you known that you were a doomed piece of paper? Oh my gosh, now I made that piece too tight. Fine. There we go. All right, so I want my paper to fill the area. I want to make sure it's as open as I can get it so that I get a reasonably accurate line. Right there. Eyeballing your cuts 'cause you can. Eyeballing your cuts 'cause you can. Alright. I'll need to cut the other end of this at a matching angle, but what I'm checking is that I'm about accurate, because what I'm going to do is make that rifling insert before I prime the gun. So I'll take the other pieces outside and prime those and come back and work on this. But I want to see if I'm getting close. And the answer is yes. So I am going to take, if I were going to paint a thing today, where would I want to start? Oh my God, there's all so much. I don't even care if like the panels, I start painting them individually, because they don't need to match. I can get color harmony later. It's a stampa. And I don't want to make it faction specific because it's going off for charity. I don't know who's going to win it. Hopefully they'll play with it, not just put it on a shelf. Oh, I'm putting this on a gaming base. You bet your bottom dollar I'm putting it on a gaming base. I want to see it on the table. All right. I'm quite trying to be excited now. Do I want to put that piece in? No. I'll prime it, but I don't want to put it in. I'm going to leave the panels off for now. Actually, that's not true. Let's go prime those. All right, so I'm going to put the show on pause here for just a moment. Folks, stay tuned. Don't go away. I will be back. I just need to go prime things. And then, yeah, we'll get back to it. And I'm back. Sorry about that. It turned into an unexpected pit stop, too. All right, so here is my strip. And the other thing I'm going to need is the depth. And I will simply measure that on one of my tools here. Not that way, because that is down. So I'm actually going to make it like that. So I want my plastic. That is 5 mil, okay. Ruler. Good enough. All right. Now here's a fun thing with plastic art. Obviously, when you warm up plastic, it's easier to work with, to bend it, I should say, and shape it. Let me get that out of your eyes there. And do I still have the heat sprayed? Here, we'll put the really hot one on there instead. Still has its heat effects, although they're mostly scratching off now. Anyhow, so like when you're vacuum forming and stuff, plastic gets hot, it can take to a form very easily. So when I'm trying to shape these into a round, I will just ruin them. I'll mess it up right while you're watching. And I know this is going to be too long. That is, again, a feature, not a bug. I got close on the other one, but I want that overlap here so I can get the angled cut that I want. And spring open. Good. What do I have that's going to hold this model for me? My pile of putty is attached to the case coming back from the Defcon. So let's improvise. Not you. How about you? That's good enough for what I need you to do. There we go. All right, and that is time for the penny. Stay. I said stay. Gosh darn it. Don't argue with me. You're inanimate plastic. Or is it? not being smarter than my plastic today because it does not want to spring like it normally would. So I'm going to cheat. There we go. I'll have a little line there, but because I used the pen to push it back, that should give me the mark I need. Yep. Whew. And yes, inanimate plastic always argues. You are right. All right, so there is my cut line. So I am going to and see if we can get them to actually overlap right on the cut line. So it's exactly precise and I don't have to measure and guess. And come on, stay warm. There you go, now it's starting to roll again. I can definitely feel with this piece like this when it goes from rolling and unrolling to one go tick, 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 and start to make little, you know, lines instead of a nice smooth curve. And the answer is no, you may not. Right, that way, Justin. Come on, come on, line up for me. Boom. Once it's glued in place, it is precisely yep, that's gonna do us. Once I get that straightened out, it'll do just fine. You can see how it's in an angle, so it's not quite touching in there, but that is just right otherwise. And now we make rifling. This is one of those parts where people watching go, and this is why Justin doesn't like figures, is because if I tried to do this kind of detail-y stuff with figures, it would just drive me bonkers. Although we sold, there was a young man at Adepticon came up to us talking about the greater demon of Slaanesh and Slaanesh. And he picked up a couple packs of the vellum butterflies that we're making with Greg at Wicked Elf Miniatures. And yeah, talked about just absolutely covering her in butterflies to create an excess of beauty. And yeah, kid needs to start entering crystal brush, I'll tell you what. All right, so now I am going to take the probes. I need to get my probes. Also known as scribing tools. One of these drawers is not like the other. One of those drawers is nothing but alligator clips. Oh, bloody handprints. Gotta make sure I know where my bloody handprints are. Alright, well, misplaced the probe that I want. So I'll grab a different one. Where's my ruler? My ruler's under my plastic card. Nope, I'm going to wind up using the tip of a blade because I need to get that angle. And I need a wider angle than for visibility than I'm going to be able to get from any of my dental probes. So unless I knew where my electronics probes were. Right. I'm working with a camera. Getting into what I do. All right. Whew. Well, I love that I can look up from losing myself in tiny little detail scratching and discover that I've got a community of folks over here talking about our paints, puzzling out stuff together. That's great. Thanks, folks. All right, so here is my little rifled widget. We'll see how much that, if any, I can really pick up for you at the moment. Let me take control of the focus. Less light. There you go. So now you can see the scoring. And that will go back in the barrel. Extra carefully now, because the scoring makes it fragile. It's one of the reasons that I've bought sheets of brass rifling before. All right. Yep, that is accurate. Last time out. this time. Gently, carefully, but quickly. In you go. There. I missed the putty on my desk because that would fix the situation. Instead, I'm going to stick a experimental secret weapon propane tank in there. Come on. There. Get in there. There you go. Don't make me leave this propane tank on top of you. I will do it. I haven't even cleaned up the print yet. In related news, yeah, propane tanks. Yeah, went and dried a little faster than I would have liked right over here. So get that last little drop of glue over here. I can correct that later if I need to. That's also why I line that part up towards the top so that it's less visually significant if I do bugger the process. No, you don't. Propane tank's like, hey, you showed me off. Now I want to be significant again. Not right now, propane tank. You've got to wait. You're part of larger terrain. Besides, they've already seen you in all the scrapyard stuff. They just don't know it. All right. Give that a minute to dry. While that does that, I am going to go get the pieces I primed. This time, no pit stop, so I'll be right back. Zoom, super fast. All right. So I hit these with a layer of my favorite Krylon Brown. And yeah, they're still a bit gummy. But that's all right. We can start talking about how I'm going to plan and go from there. Excuse me. Please excuse me. Oh, my good golly gosh. All right. Right. Leaving it alone. So with each of the metals, yeah, good. Checking paint adhesion. So that's the first thing. Before I get carried away, is even though the primer is not completely dried, let me get that out of there. Let's fix a bit of this. Yeah. And there we are. Hopefully that looks better on your end too. Let me know. I hope that has improved visibility. If it makes things worse, well, figure out the differences. All right, so I'm looking at each of the metals and the spots where I, did not fully hit this with primer, and that's fine because there's going to be plenty of other paint that goes on here. Obviously, the rust set is going to get put totally through its paces. But one of the things that I'm going to do, because I want this to work for any player in the hope that it'll actually see some game time, or at least anybody, any collector, even if it just goes on their shelf, is make sure that it's not clan specific. Whereas I would normally enjoy painting my yellow. In this case, it's it's not going to be all about me. But that also lets me have some fun with color mapping. And that's right, I was going to talk paint adhesion, but I'm already onto the color mapping. It's going to let me have fun with color mapping because now what I can do is figure out that, if this panel is going to wind up yellow, this panel here, then I can make sure that the metal plating underneath it, the rust, whatever colors are going to go on here, are complementary to the yellow. Same thing, if this is going to be a big red panel, while I probably don't want a bunch of really bright yellow rust or bright orange rust under that because you're not going to see it. So I will actually start that color mapping as I get going. And I will actually have to take photos and or work quickly and keep it in my memory so that I can actually maintain all of that. But I will definitely follow along or give you a chance to follow along at home. But now back to the paint adhesion question. So yeah, like I said, still tacky in spots, especially at the bottom. But good, 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 good. And what to look for again here is just anywhere the paint still looks funky or the surface still looks glossy. Check those spots where you had concerns. Hit it with your finger. I know I get plenty of people that tell me, oh, keep your hands off of your model, and I talk about it all the time. If your hands are that oily, go wash them. It's all right. You can do it. We can do it together. But no, I'm just checking. Even on the try to play here. Good. And I want to check all of this now so that I don't have surprises later. That one little sad cable. We're going to have to fix this. There's going to be a whole junky mess of cables coming off somewhere. I also feel like I'm going to have to make like a 442 blower to stick on the top of this thing or sticking out of somewhere just because, I don't know. Because I can. Maybe stick a telescope out of here. Make our little pirate gunner sticking out of the front of this. But all right, anywhere else to check this thing? Nope, adhesion looks good. This is no longer slimy, so the cleaning worked. All right. Now I can also play with the gun again. Which will go. Meow. Meow. Get back on camera, Justin. I'm sitting lower, so now my arms go further forward. All right. Let me correct my little mistake here as best I can, at least, by trimming all of this flat. And I do actually want to come all the way around my rifling right here and just not get that much of it. Just blend it right there into the barrel. I'm going to do another glue around the outside of that. So I'm going all around the outside surface of this barrel on the resin. I'm going to take another cotton swab, make sure one end is clean, and right one direction. Let that dry to help it blend in together. All right, I'll have the same kind of fun here. Obviously for the barrel, I'm going to use the a lot of the metallics for this whole thing. And that'll give us our rifling. Yeah, you can see the mistake, but again, it's at the top, so everywhere it'll be visible. Let's get that. And I'll fix my little gap with some putty. Right, that's like. Come on. There you go. So a bit more cleanup to do. So we've got to fix that gap. And that won't be a problem. A little bit of putty. And it'll actually all line up just like it should. And in the meantime, I still have a little pop-up. I saw it on video that I didn't see here a minute ago. Better remember to watch my directions this time. Perfect. Dun, 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 dun. All right. That's about as far as I can get on this at this point. Otherwise, I would be starting to paint rust with 15 minutes to go. And although I would be happy to just paint rust for the rest of this, well, of course, 15 minutes is just enough for me to get started and be sad that we don't have another couple of hours. But I do have something going on in the shop today. Turns out there's a problem with the shipping software, which means that until we fix that, they can't ship anything today. And that's distressing to everybody, I'm sure, including you. So as always, thank you for joining me for another Workbench Wednesday. Stay tuned for number 22, which will be a continuation of the Stompa with belly gun, including combining the kits from Games Workshop and Forge World, so that they can be painted up and donated to the Nova Open Charitable Foundation. I will let folks know when I'm going to be down at Games Workshop at Lake Crest Village in Sacramento, doing some work in Joe's shop on this to show it off and drum up support for the Nova Open Charitable Foundation. And of course, as always, if there's something you want to see covered in a Workbench Wednesday, please let me know. Reach out via email, contact forum, Facebook, wherever it is you want to find me, whatever's best for you. Let me know what topic or subject you'd like to see covered on video, and hey, I'll make sure that I get a chance to show you, well, on video how to do it, whatever it is you're asking to do. Thank you again. Happy hobbying in the meantime. We'll see you next time from Secret Weapon Miniatures. Cheers.